Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you are someone who's trying to break into IT with zero work experience, zero schooling, or even recreational experience working with computers, this video is for you. I had absolutely zero experience working with computers when I first started my journey, and after only interviewing for 2 months, I was able to land my first role in help desk. Today I wanted to share how I did it without a formal IT background and explain how you can do it too. I'll walk through a little bit about my background, what I did before I started interviewing, what I put on my resume, and how I prepared for the interviews. So let's dive in. Before I got into IT, I mainly worked in customer service roles. In high school, I worked in retail. In college, I worked in the food industry. And I majored in criminal justice and then started working in healthcare recruitment after I graduated. When I first decided I wanted to transition into IT, I had no degree in IT. I had no experience working in any kind of technical role, and I didn't have any tech certifications. So that led me to start self-studying while I was working full-time just to dip my toe in the water. And because I knew nothing about computers, I had to start from ground zero. So you know what that means. I started studying for the CompTIA A+. This gave me a solid understanding of hardware, software, and basic troubleshooting. I would suggest this to anyone who's starting in a similar place to where I began. It's also a good litmus test to see what side of IT you're more drawn to. Some people get into IT thinking they want to land in a very specific role. But the great thing about this field is it's ever evolving and there's so many avenues to choose from. And right now, you're in a perfect position to not limit yourself too early on.
Anything's possible. Anything's possible!
I took 4 months to study for the A+, and when I passed the 1101, I didn't even bother taking the 1102. My goal when I first decided to get into IT was to end up in cybersecurity. Ha ha ha! Little did I know that would be a long road ahead of me. Not something a boot camp could promise me overnight success on. However, little old me at the time decided it was time to take the Security Plus. I think I just wanted to know if I liked the material, and thankfully I did. It was actually a lot easier to study for than the A+. And that took me another 4 months to study for and pass. So all in all, it was about a year and some change for me to get these 2 certs out of the way, and I was doing this while I was working full-time at my healthcare recruitment job. I actually made a video outlining the details on how I studied for the Security Plus, so if you want more info on that, you can check it out. Even though Security Plus is not required for a help desk role, it definitely helped me get the confidence to start putting out my resume. At the same time, I started working on some side projects. For one, I started to build my own PC from scratch, which was actually so much fun and so rewarding. It was nice to see the concepts that I learned in the A+ with all the hardware and then put them into use and see how they're broken down and how to put them together. So if you have the budget for it, I know mine was a budget PC, I recommend to try it. I also started building a rough outline of a home lab. I created a Windows Server VM, I joined clients to a domain, I made a DHCP, DNS server on it, and I even set up a VPN. I documented everything that I did so that I would be able to talk about it in my interviews.
Write that down, write that down!
I felt like this was a smart thing to do, not just for my own personal development, but also for the interview process so that employers could see that I had initiative. Next, I want to talk about what I put on my resume. I knew I wasn't going to land a big hotshot IT role. That was never my goal or desire. I knew it was always going to be help desk. I really wanted a role where I could build up my fundamental skills. Also, you'll see everywhere online if you want to transition into tech from a non-tech background, help desk is most likely where you're gonna start. It is such a great transition because if you do have previous customer service experience, which many of us do, you can lean on those skills in order to get your foot in the door. Help desk is not just a technical role, it's a customer facing role. So that's exactly what I did. All you have to do is show that one, you can deal with customers, and two, learn fast. So on my resume, underneath all of my customer service roles, I included that I knew how to de-escalate situations, deal with frustrated customers, work quickly to resolve issues, and so on. All relevant to help desk. I also listed my certs, of course. Why else take them if to not show them off? That is a joke. Also, I had a project section which outlined some of the technical work I was doing in my home lab, but I really created a separate portfolio to go into detail about any of the projects I've done or what I was working on at the time. The service I used to create my portfolio is called Card, and I will link that in the bio below. I was able to expand more in greater detail about the projects that I was working on or had worked on. So I included the fact that I built my own PC. I also included the home lab there. I included a diagram of the network topology. All of that I was able to list in my portfolio. My resume is just a quick skim of who I am, what I've done, but that portfolio really showed that I had an interest in the field. Also, I think it's a great way to show employers what you're up to, especially if your job hunt is long, which in this job market, I would not blame you at all for. You can consistently update it with any details on the current projects. So I highly recommend that you make one. After filling out 1,000,001 Indeed applications, I started hearing back from some companies. And I'm sure you know companies like to do several rounds of interviews, so there's different ways to prepare for each type. I wasn't too worried about the initial phone screenings. I don't think you should be either. They're pretty simple. It's just getting to know you. But I knew I had to prepare for the technical interviews. I went straight to Google, typed in technical help desk interview questions, and started writing them down and answering them as best I could. So I'll link some of those questions below. I even think that I have a draft of the answers I came up with, so I'll find a way to link that in my bio below too. The actual questions I got in the interviews were fairly simple. Things like, how would you help a customer if they told you their internet was down? How do you test for network connectivity? If you've studied anything like the A+, you'll probably have an easy time getting those questions down. The struggle will be being able to confidently display that knowledge during the interview. Interviews are nerve-wracking enough, so just make it easier on yourself by saying the questions out loud, sort of like muscle memory. Also remember, you don't have to be an expert. This is help desk, probably tier 1. They don't expect you to know everything. They expect you to know how to find the answer. So giving an answer like, I don't know, that's probably something I have to escalate or something I have to Google, is perfectly acceptable. Especially because it's honest, and as corny as it sounds, just be yourself. Display your strengths as best you can. That's what I did, and I'm here now, so you can do it too, trust me. All right, so if you're trying to get your first job in IT, mainly help desk, here is my best advice for you. Number 1 is start learning today. You don't need a degree, especially for help desk. You can try to study for a certification or anything else. Just prove to yourself that you're committed to making the jump. Number 2 is start a project. You could build a PC like me, do a home lab, anything. Just something that shows that you have initiative that you can put on your resume. Number 3 is don't undersell yourself. Whatever work experience or schooling you had before this, even if it wasn't technical, you gained skills from it. Decide what those skills are and translate it as best you can to help desk. Communication, patience, problem solving, they're all huge assets. Number 4 is apply anyway, even if you don't meet all of the requirements. I got callbacks for jobs that said that they needed 1 to 2 years of working experience. You'd be surprised what you could get if you just aim high. Lastly, you don't need to be perfect. You just need to show that you're willing to put in the work. And I promise that will be enough to land your first job in help desk. All right, guys, that is it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. I plan on posting more videos about my journey, so if you found this helpful or if there's anything more you'd like to know, drop a comment below. I'd love to cheer you on. Good luck with landing your first role in IT. I know you can do it. See you in the next video. Bye.